Hey, we're going to document the air conditioning installation, or at least the components. It's mostly installed. This is my 1982 CJ-8 Scrambler with a Chevy 350 throttle body V8. And I bought the Jeepair air conditioning only kit with the sand-in compressor, and I've been installing it for a few weekends here. Okay, let's start out at the compressor. So this is the sand-in compressor. I don't have the wiring hooked up yet. That'll be my last phase. That's pretty simple. And I had to get a bracket to mount this on the engine. So I bought their 101L bracket from Jeepair. It mounts to the upper water pump bolts. And I found out it didn't quite fit with the factory alternator bracket. So I had to notch that out, but still plenty strong. Yeah, I was able to get that in there, and then one of the heater hoses coming off the thermostat or off the water pump goes through a hole that's in the bracket and over to the heater core. So the compressor is kind of a cool mount. It's out of the way of everything I need to work on, with one glitch here in a minute, you'll see. But the way it adjusts is this is inside of the compressor mounting bolts on this side. And there's a threaded rod that comes out of it. It's like a T, kind of hard to see here. And you adjust the tension on the belt using the threaded nut there, the nut on the threaded rod, in or out, and it tilts the compressor up or down to tighten it. The other side is just a big nut that you loosen or tighten along with the other one. And it's actually pretty easy and very strong, easier to adjust than the other belts in the engine. And I had to figure out a custom belt length. They don't tell you that, it doesn't come in the kit. So if we could see the Gates belt right here, if I can get that to focus in, there we go. So that is a 75/80 belt, and the 7 is the series of belt. 5/8 is 58 inches. So I'm using a 58-inch belt, if that helps anybody. Very easy to get apart. And the sanding compressor came with a 2-groove pulley, and the V-belt perfectly lined up with the power steering pump down here. There's a PSC system in my Jeep, the high pressure power steering pump, lined up perfectly. So I've got all the different V-belts going on in here, and I carried all of them as spares. Okay, so after that, I had to mount the condenser in front of the radiator. So I pulled the radiator, the shroud, and the fan that's on the water pump, mechanical fan, out to give me some room. Put some cardboard on the condenser so I don't mess up the fins while I'm working on it. And I decided not to use the brackets the Jeepair kit came with. They're pretty thin sheet metal, and when I mounted it, it was easy to wobble in and out, and I'm a little worried I'm going to do a lot of overlanding trips with washboard roads and things. I didn't want it vibrating a whole lot, impacting the ability to cool. So I mounted it with I bought some flat steel, 1/8" steel from Home Depot, cut it, bent it, painted it, and this is really secure now. Happy with that. And out of that comes a couple of fittings, okay? So the way this works is the compressor will take the air coming back from the evaporator under the dash into this big number 10 line right here, compresses it, comes out this number 8 line here. So comes out here, loops around, goes through an existing hole in the grill, and connects to the top of the condenser. And then the coolant goes in as a gas, cools down with the air coming through it, and comes out the bottom as a liquid on the number 6 line with a 90-degree fitting. And that comes out here, goes into the input of the receiver dryer. You can see the word "in" there. And the pressure switch is on the receiver dryer here. I'll just connect the wiring to that as the last phase. And then it comes out on a number 6 hose. And I didn't want all these hoses in the way of everything, so I routed them. I had to get longer hoses. Couldn't use some of them from the Jeepair kit, but the number 6 along that flows this way with the liquid refrigerant, and it parallels the number 10 that comes back to the compressor with the warmed gaseous air out of the evaporator under the dash. But the number 6 and the number 10 go high over the firewall. They don't get in the way of me setting the timing or adjusting the distributor or anything, getting distributor cap wires. The Jeep engine's pretty dirty here. And then they drop down under the battery tray, and then they go into the passenger compartment through a knockoff plate that was on the engine, on the firewall. Okay, did have one issue here I got to solve once I get the radiator back in. So the factory thermostat housing is right here, and it's oriented this way. Well, it runs right into the new compressor, and it goes to the upper radiator hose, which will be around here. So that ain't gonna work. Luckily, it's a 350 Chevy. There's all kinds of parts. So I got this swivel neck mount that once I get in position, I put in an O-ring, I tighten it down. So my goal is to get it somewhere right in here, and I get a radiator hose that comes up, curves around, and goes into the radiator once I get it positioned there. So I'm gonna need to make that hose or get a universal hose, but it shouldn't be too hard. But that's another thing I gotta solve. So be mindful of that. It didn't say that in any of the instructions or on Jeepair's site that I might have to do that. Okay, now let's go inside. And we have the evaporator unit blower under the dash. It's not all mounted up fully yet. I gotta hang it on these screws just so I can get in and out of there. And those two hoses, the number 6, which is on the right, and the number 10 on the left in the video. Number 6 brings the liquefied coolant up to an expansion valve under here. I'm not going to go under too far. It goes into the evaporator. The blower blows the air across the evaporator inside this box, cools it down, comes out these vents, and then it goes back out the number 10, the big tube there, and back over to the compressor, and the cycle is complete. And what I'm going to do now is mark the connectors with a paint pen so I can take them to get crimped. And then I'm actually going to put some heat resistant sleeve on these pipes, especially going down here. They're probably 8 inches away from the exhaust manifold, but I want to get every degree of coolness I can get out of this air system for those hot days. So I'm going to mark all the connectors now, or the fittings on the hose, so they're in the right position when they get crimped, especially the 90-degree fittings. And then I'm going to pull it all out, take it to a hydraulic shop, get them crimped, put the sleeves on the hoses, come back, reinstall all the hoses, put the radiator in, shroud, and the fan, connect the wiring up, and then I can take it to a shop to evacuate and fill with refrigerant and get this thing working.